All right, let's get to it. If you have experienced this, if your vehicle has been jerking and you've taken it to your mechanic and they've told you that there's a problem with the fuel you bought, or your car just came to a halt, like my friends did in my area a couple of nights ago, and you're worried about the cost of repairing it and you're wondering how it happened. Well, it might have been your fuel. We certainly had a conversation about this about a week and a half ago. And the NPA made it quite clear that they're aware of it. It was a problem with the manganese levels in the fuel that we imported. And it was nearer the upper limit, but still within specification of the Ghana Standards Authority. But there are some cars that are unable to bear high levels of manganese close to the upper limit, and they gave an example, the Honda CRV manual, and other cars in that range. But the problem persists. In fact, the reports seem to be increasing. Why? That's why our guests are here. Ubaida Lakutia Said is head of quality control at the NPA, National Petroleum Authority, and Mohammed Abdul Kudus is NPA's communications manager. All right, listen, let's get straight to it. And if you don't mind, Ubaida, I'd like to start with you. So, an explanation was given. Manganese levels closer to the upper limit, wreaking havoc. So the problem is our limit?
Okay, thank you very much, Cojo, for the opportunity. Before I say anything, I want to say that the NPA have taken this issue very critically, and in fact, some of us are also facing the same problem.
You had the same problem with
myself
your car?
as well.
What happened?
Once I was picked, I traveled outside. In fact, I went to Cote d'Ivoire, ECOWAS program, to give a presentation on fuel quality, because Ghana have become a hub for most West African countries to study from when it comes to fuel quality system and largely fuel regulation in the downstream. Ghana have been a hub for that. So I went to do this presentation to ECOWAS on standards. I was picked at the airport, and middle on the motorway, the car, it just slows down. My brother was driving and it stopped.
Which airport?
Airport,
so you had returned?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When was this?
This was almost about 2 months ago.
Wow.
And within a short time, for a mechanic, I bought 5,000 cedis. But the problem was not to be that. If you allow me, I'll just give some background to this issue. The world, because of emissions, and we always talk about the global warming and issues, have made vehicle manufacturers to zoom in towards low fuel consuming vehicle engines. So you see that a lot of vehicles, particularly, let me use my car, which is a CRV. CRVs were basically 2.4 engine until 2017. That's where we reference that vehicle. Where now from 22.4 horsepower, the engine has been reduced to 1.5 horsepower to give you almost the same power. And therefore, the technology of turbo kicks in, and other complicated systems, models that helps you run on very low fuel consumption and yet produce power. And that requires that every system have to be optimal. This is the world trend that has caught up with us. So that is the background to this issue. So it took us time. When a car, to give you another background, there are a lot of things that causes a car to jerk. One critical thing is octane level. So when a car vehicle starts to jerk, your first point is to look at the octane level of the fuel. It costs about $500 to test for octane. So we started testing for octane and realized that all the petrol we are testing are meeting the octane level. And each of these vehicles have a minimum octane level that the fuel should meet to enable optimal performance. And Another important point is that every particular car is designed for a certain grade of fuel. So, in fact, the NPA at our last management meeting has sanctioned that next year we were going to label the pumps, particularly for petrol, to grade them on octane levels. So, Ghana, we have 2 grades of petrol, RON 91, which is the red one, and the new one, which is green. So, a lot of people will buy it and think that is diesel, but that's a high grade petrol called premium petrol, which is RON 95 for high performing vehicles. So these are the background to these issues, that these vehicles we use were tailored for certain standard of fuel. So when these issues happened and we started investigating, we realized that the octane level first and foremost was meeting. So now we've ticked that box. What other parameters could account for a car to jerk? Metals. The generic name is metals, but we have to look at our system. What metals are permitted in our system? Almost all the other metals like iron, lead have been phased out from our standard. We used to use a very high lead. We phase all those up as we graduate in the standards. The last standing was manganese, because whilst vehicle or fuel require high octane level, it is the manganese or this metal additive that allow the fuel run to go up. So you have to be able to have that run, and that run requires some parameter to boost it up. So it's like a seesaw situation. You need a high octane, which requires something, a booster. So if you go to the world of Europe and Americas, they have resorted to alcohol. So you buy petrol in US, guaranteed there's alcohol in it. In Europe, guaranteed there's alcohol in it. Brazil is doing minimum 20% of alcohol to enable the petrol get the required octane level. Our systems in Ghana is not yet ready to use alcohol at that level. So we have to find a way to allow the petrol and the producers of this petrol.
You say our system is not ready to use alcohol at that level. Why?
So alcohol, the number one thing it doesn't like is water. Alcohol, let me not be too chemistry, have an OH bond. Water is also OH, as we always call it. So when the two meet
with water
at all, so our system is such that the atmosphere is moist, and therefore you require airtight systems, which is what we are working towards. All the systems at the supply chain, from the depot to the filling station, must be airtight for you to be able to use alcohol. So you need to put that physical infrastructure in place before you can introduce alcohol.
Okay.
So in that limiting factor, we have to look at a way producers like Temoy Refinery can produce their petrol to meet the octane level of 91 minimum. And one of the ways is manganese. It used to be lead. Lead is carcinogenic, so it was phased out and manganese allowed in. So now we had a roadmap actually to reduce this manganese to 6. But we have been turned. Do you take that parameter out when you know your local refineries cannot produce without the addition of these metals? That has been the discussion at the standard setting table. Now, what this thing came to do after following serious investigations, and to say it took us some time. In fact, we have to fly some of the samples to Rotterdam because of limited testing capacity in the country. And NPA from 2018 has been building its own lab. For we anticipated that we need to have a backup and independent testing by us to verify what the private labs and so have been giving, the results they've been churning to us. So we have a lab in place, but it takes a lot of money to get a fully fledged lab and space. So this is what we have been doing. It's just that this event have moved us off gear, and in fact just some few management before this issue even sanctioned that we have to buy some of the equipment under agency. But government procedures and things, it has slowed down some of these things. So it's just quite unfortunate that we were caught up in this thing, and that required us, particularly at the standard setting. Last week I had an interview at GBC with standard setting people, and I have been a member of the committee, and I've raised serious question to us that we need to be able to take critical decisions.
So at the moment, what you're describing to us is a sort of catch-22 situation. In order for us to meet our octane levels, we need to have manganese in there. But it's about setting the right standard. At the moment, it's about 18.
Yeah.
But you have a roadmap to reduce it to what? Did you say 6?
6 and 2. So we have 2 grades. So the normal petrol we all know, which is red, which is colored red. Actually, petrol is colorless. So when it comes, our standard allows that if it is what we call the regular grade, which octane number is 91, it should be colored red. Then the other one, which is minimum 95, which is equivalent to Euro 5. So Europe is always the reference point world over. So our regular is tailored to Euro 4. Our premium is tailored to Euro 5. So which is green.
Okay. So 6 and 2.
6 and 2 respectively.
Okay. So 2 would be for the regular, and then 6 would be for the
2 for the premium, which is green, and 6 for the regular, which is red.
Okay, so more manganese in the regular than the premium.
Yeah, so that if you have a higher technology or requirement vehicle, then you go for the green.
Right.
And that is why I said that management has sanctioned that going next year, we are going to label the machines at the filling station. So when you go to buy, you see the run number written on the pump.
Yes.
Run 95. Then you have this one, run 91. Then you know which one you should buy.
Okay. All right. Now, before I ask my next question, thank you to all of you who have tuned in Kumasi, those of you who have tuned in on Love FM. Thank you very much for joining us. In the Central Region, thanks for choosing ATL FM. This is the Super Morning Show on Joy, and we're talking about incidents of contaminated fuel, if you will, which have caused problems for people's vehicles. The NPA is here explaining to us that it's not exactly that the fuel is contaminated, but there are some unusually high manganese levels which they have a plan to deal with. I want us to find out what that plan is. Now, just before you tell us about that, I want to clarify what you've explained to us so far. So according to your statement, it's something you became aware of, that the manganese levels were closer to the upper limit, and some cars just cannot take that. Okay. And you've explained that it's because technology has changed over time. So we now have models of cars that are designed with much more sensitive mechanisms, because they are trying to produce more power with lower engine capacity.
Exactly.
So now that there are more and more of these modern technology vehicles, the higher manganese standard that we have, they are struggling with it.
Yes.
So you have a roadmap to reduce it. But in the meantime, this will keep happening.
Okay. The roadmap have been shortened. So as we speak, I must commend our Chief Executive, Dr. Mustafa Abdulhamid, and the Director General of the Ghana Standard Authority, Professor Alex Dodo. When the issue happened and management was aware, our Chief Executive convened an emergency meeting of the Ghana Standard Authority and says that, look, we know how long it takes to review these things, but under this situation, we need to do something urgent. So something that normally takes a year, within 2 months, we have actually almost finished with the standard. And on top of that, once the parameters were accepted by the standard setting committee of the Ghana Standard Authority, we don't set the standard, and that is one critical aspect of this issue. We don't set the standard. It is the Ghana Standard Authority that sets the standard, but we sit in that standard certain committee. I'm personally a member of that technical committee. So the committee was called to do an urgent work, which we have done. In fact, we didn't only review the manganese level. Now, just like I've given you a background, we made sure that if we are talking about our premium, it is exactly tailored to Euro 5.
Okay. So, how long ago did the NPA become aware of this problem?
Is it the issue of the jacking?
Yes.
Yeah. So, in fact, we have Kudus who probably dealt into that. We have a system that normally take feedback and complaints from consumers. So we've been doing that. People will have issue of quantity. People will have issue of infractions here and there. It was just some months ago that we realized that, about 2 months. In fact, it was around my birthday in October.
Okay.
That we started noticing that the
reports
complaints are getting abnormal.
Okay.
The numbers. So in fact, we have to do, when we tested and the parameters were meeting, in fact, we had to send more samples outside Ghana. We were even doubting our testing results.
Right.
Is it the case that these labs are not giving us the required results? So we have to fly samples to Rotterdam and other parts of Europe to test.
Right.
It is when these were confirmed that we realized that, okay, if the parameters are met, we need to look at. Then we started looking at the data of the vehicles affected. That was when the CRV and other vehicles came into play.
Okay.
That, look, this, so for instance, I buy from the same station, the same as my wife do buy. She uses an older Hyundai Santa Fe. She doesn't have problem. Even my CRV is having problem. She is not having problem.
Right.
So we started disaggregating the data to streamline who are those being affected. So that's why when we realized that these were some vehicles we call LEV, low emission vehicles, equipped with technologies to reduce emission. Because I told you about the greenhouse effect, that now technologies are to reduce emission. So we realized that these were the category of vehicles with low emission vehicles technologies that are sensitive to these high metals.
Okay, so it's a timeline that I'm trying to establish, and from what you're explaining, Kudus, you can weigh in if necessary. From what you're explaining, it was from about October that the level of complaints seemed to surge. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so has there been any change in the source of fuel or petroleum products that comes in for us to use to fuel our cars? The source internationally, has that changed at any point recently?
Okay, thank you so much for having me. Let me say good morning to you, good morning to your cherished and wonderful listeners. So the source has not necessarily changed, because as Said alluded to, it is not as though the fuel that are coming into the country are without or outside the standards so set by the Ghana Standard Authority. Okay, so the initial investigation suggested the concentration of manganese that was traced to all of these issues. So there should not necessarily be a change in the source. For me, it got worrying that a certain mischief was thrown into the public space when people started to look again at the gold for oil. For whatever reason, I don't know. I thought that it was a mischief that was not necessary at all. On the back of what Said spoke about, having to disaggregate the data and compare his car to that of the wife, I think that we ought to probably start looking again. The last time he was on the program with the Ghana Standard Authority, I think what came out had to also do with our standards. It appears that, and this is a personal level after a conversation I've had with other people, it appears that some of us actually get our cars into the system without looking at what the standard requirements are in the country. So the car that he talked about, for example, My understanding, okay, from the manual of CRV is that it is intolerant to manganese in the fuel, but per our standard, manganese is allowed. So if you have your car in the system and it uses a fuel that has some level of manganese, you are likely to have a problem. Do we really blame the problem on the fuel imported? Obviously no, because it missed the standard.
Although we also have to factor in everything. You have identified that from 2017 onwards, the Honda CRV models, for example, seem to be intolerant to manganese. But from 2017 until October this year, we haven't been having these reports in such numbers.
Okay.
So clearly, something has changed.
Without a doubt.
That's what we want to know. What has changed and where did the change happen?
Okay.
In fact, if you don't mind, we'll take a quick break at this point.
Okay.
If you're listening, we're getting answers from the NPA. They are helping us understand the situation with this dirty fuel problem. Well, it's not exactly dirty. The fuel meets our standards.
Suspected.
Yes, suspected dirty fuel. When we come back, we'll find out more. What changed? What is causing it? And what can you do to keep your car safe and your wallet closed? Beda La Kutia Said, Mohammed Abdul Kudus are here with us. They are the heads of quality control and communication manager, respectively, at the NPA, and they're helping us understand the situation with fuel, which appears to be the cause of some mechanical problems with many people's vehicles. We heard from callers who have had to change their spark plugs 9 times in 6 months. That is a lot of money. It's the last thing anybody wants to be faced with this Christmas. But people are increasingly discovering this problem. At the time we had the conversation earlier, lots of people didn't connect their car problems to this fuel situation. Now their mechanics are telling them that is what has happened to you. And the numbers are increasing. We want to understand why. Just before the break, you explained, Kudus, that something did change. What was it?
Okay, so thank you again. I was responding to the question whether the source of fuel has actually changed, given what has actually been detected from September to now. And my response was that because the standard did not fall outside the allowable standards so set by the Ghana Standard Authority, it was not something worthy of consideration. However, we needed to look at what are the mitigating measures, what is it that we needed to do going forward. And that is why we actually are encouraging and would want to use your medium once again to encourage as much as possible for people to bring their concerns to our attention. Is it a matter for worry? Obviously. Is it an issue that we are all concerned about, without a doubt at all? Is it enough for us to conclude that the fuel out there is bad? I doubt it. Because the standard, whether it is bad or not, ought to take a clinical assessment to be able to arrive at that particular conclusion. And that is where we are encouraging that when you have an issue that you suspect is traceable to a fuel that you've bought from a particular filling station, bring it to our notice. We have a team, normally depending on the complaint that comes. So if it is about the standard of fuel, Said is normally the chairperson for that particular committee. We have a legal person represented. We have the consumer services department represented. Then we have the consumer. Okay, then where we need to then bring the fuel station you bought the fuel from, then we do that so we can have an amicable solution. And once we are able to arrive at what exactly is the issue, and indeed if it is determined that the fuel was actually the cause, then we are then able to determine what is it that should be commensurate enough, okay, so as it were either put you back to normal or probably help you in a certain way that will bring your car back to life. So the communication is absolutely important. I can understand the anxiety, the anger a lot of the time, the frustration when you have to have your car in the middle of the road jerking after buying fuel. But I think that we ought to be a little are careful, okay, in having to just draw the conclusion. And what I've realized of late is that people are good enough to want to run to social media with their issue. I'm not trying to dictate to people how they should treat their issue, but I think that if we are looking for a solution, the way out is having to bring the issue to the table so we can collectively delve into it and find what exactly is the issue. Then we can get a solution to that.
To be fair, there are far too many of these reports for the NPA to still be dealing with this on a case-by-case basis. You said we shouldn't jump to conclusions, but you have already arrived at the conclusion that there is something going on, right? So
suspected.
Well, nobody is jumping to that conclusion.
Yes.
The numbers are quite clear.
Yeah.
The calls and the reports and it's quite clear that something is happening.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that the same fuel that these CRVs have been using from 2017 till September or October 2023 without any problem is the same fuel that is now causing them problems from September till now. So me, I'm looking for the thing that changed. What is it?
Cojo, if I may come in on that score. Yes, in fact, it has to take us a retrospective look to notice what have changed. And if you read our communication issued on this issue, we indicated clearly that we had some consignment of gasoline or petrol, if I should call it that way, that had the manganese level close to the apex, which is the 18. But we have the highest I have noticed was 17 ppm. Hitherto, when we did the data, because the fact is that we have 22 parameters on the current standard called GS 140 2022. The previous one, GS 140 2017, had 17 parameters. So we tightened the standard at the last review. One of the things that wasn't changed was the manganese, and I'll come to the point I said that certain critical decisions have to be taken, and we've done that anyway. But there are so many cases that we are caught, will I say, in a web as to which road we want to take. For instance, I spoke about the Temoe refinery. If Temoe refinery should start work today and should produce petrol, they will struggle to meet this current standard we are putting in place, which is the manganese of 6. So that is the difficult decision the committee have been hesitant to take.
Why would they struggle to meet that standard?
Because it's an old technology, the refinery there, that, for instance, the crude distillation unit, if said that you don't undertake a further production which using different technology, they have another plant called the fuel fluid catalytic cracker, which can increase the octane, but it has not been working for a while. So if you can't go to that second level of further processing, your octane level will be low, and you will now require an additive, and that is where the manganese have been used. So it's this manganese that have been added to the fuel to now bring the octane from, let's say, an 88 level to meet a 91. So the question has been, if you take that off from the standard, you are virtually telling your industry that they can't meet your production.
So is it because of TOR that you haven't gone ahead to start implementing the
I wouldn't say that. So in fact, I've told you we have taken this. In fact, we've changed the standard as we sit. We have issued communication. Now the new standard, the review standard, will take effect. NPA have communicated to the 1st January 2024.
But we'll still keep bringing in the almost 18.
No, we've stopped that already. So what happened when we detected these things? Our chief executive called the big players in the industry. Some of these things, because of the issue, I have to go deep to tell them that, look, this is the issue. The standard permit this, but under the situation, we are pleading with you. That is a plead. That don't bring this category of fuel again. So we may not have legal basis to do that, but we've talked to the big players that, look, because if you ask what have changed, if I answer that, probably it will give you. We've realized that until we did the check that we were fortunate to have fuel, petrol, whose manganese was even less than 2. That's what we've been having mostly from the imports mostly. So we don't have.
So did we change our source of import? Is that
No, it's
why-
not that we change the. So it's the same people bringing you fuel, but like I said, they have a standard to meet. So anytime a fuel comes, the officers in charge will take the 22. Parameters and take. Did you meet this? Yes. You meet this? Yes. It doesn't matter which range of the standard that you fall in, you pass. So we've been getting 10, it pass. We've been getting 6, it pass. We
But
get 9, it
from
pass.
October or September, we started getting 17.
Yeah. So we've seen 15, 16, and which now that retrospectively we've narrowed to the problem, were an outliers, but they meet the standard. But it didn't occur to anybody that okay, this range will cause this problem that it has caused.
So what I want to know is, why did the manganese level go up?
You see, why did the manganese goes up? It is in the standard that you can bring manganese 18.
So
it's just like
the importers decided that from October, instead of the 2 and so that we've been bringing, now we'll just let the standard go up a little. But they are not the manufacturers, they are importers. So did they start importing from a different source?
No,
that has higher manganese?
For instance, we see vessels, which is the ships that bring the fuel. You will track back, you see that they are picking from the same sources, but it's up to the producers at any point in time.
So these same sources are the ones supplying other countries as well.
When you say other countries,
Because
I will not be able.
I want to know whether the problem is unique to Ghana, or do our neighbors, for example, are they having the same issue?
You see, if you go back to the beginning of this conversation, I've established a background. Look, I have done a survey to all the regions. This is not happening in Upper West, where I come from. It's not happening in Upper East. It's not happening in Northern Region. It's not happening in BA. The main places it's happening is Accra and Kumasi. And it talks about the vehicle technology available.
When we come back, we're going to open the phone line so you can ask your questions to the NPA, because we are learning some very important details here. If it is the types of vehicles, the more modern your vehicle is, the more vulnerable you are to the manganese in the fuel. Then why don't we rather change the standard instead of telling people to bring less modern vehicles into the country?
Cojo, I told you the standard have been changed.
Yes, but you also advised us that before we bring a car, we should check the standard before we bring it into Ghana.
Very
so if your car is too modern, don't bring it.
Your set, for example, is intolerant to metal traces in the fuel, but our standard allows metal to be in our fuel.
So you're advising people to bring less modern cars.
Not necessarily.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Not necessarily, but just to be sure that what you are bringing can actually run in the system.
Freddie is on the line from Accra. Hi, Freddie. Good morning.
Good morning.
My brother, what's your question for the NPA?
Yes. The first issue is, now that they have observed these things and the same fuel is still being imported, are they going to compensate us?
Okay.
Because the issue is, I use CRV, and within a short time, I've bought 3 plugs. And now you can't even travel with the car, because the car was within a short time, which will be jerking, and these plugs, they cost minimum of 1,500.
Yeah.
It's even higher at Honda place.
Okay.
So what can they do for us?
Thank you for that. We will ask that question. Jejom is in Tema. Hi, Jejom.
Yes, I'm good. Yourself?
Not bad at all. It's good to have you. What's your question?
Yes. Actually, I was a victim just this Friday when I was heading back home, Volta, and I bought fuel. Just when I got to Adam, my car started getting so badly, and I had to stop and look for a mechanic. And even at the moment, there was light out, and the fitter had to open the down chamber to drain the oil down. And I was unable to continue the journey. Came back, called my mechanic, fixed the ignition coil, all the plugs, all the filters, and everything before the car came back again. And just just yesterday, that was super, yes. And on the motorway, so I speak to you now.
Jejom, your line is not great. Can you reposition yourself so we can hear you clearer? You said you bought fuel yesterday,
yes.
super.
Yes.
And then what happened?
This yesterday, and my.
Oh, Jejom, I'm so sorry. The line is terrible. Please try calling us back because we want to hear the rest of your question. What happened to you yesterday after filling up on super? And this follows you having to repair extensively your ignition coil and other parts following a problem you developed after buying fuel in the Volta region. Junior is in Kotobabi. Hi, Junior. Good morning.
Good morning, man. And good morning to your series panelists.
Yes.
And your series business as well. I think your panelists are being economical with the truth. Because I could tell this thing happened when the gold for oil started. Because you're doing fine, you're buying for, you're not having issues. And so I know if you could ask them, is that about the gold for oil, whereby you're getting low standard fuel, or because this thing started happening when the government started the gold for oil program. So I don't know if you can ask them, if you can show more that on the.
I'll ask them for you. Don't worry, Junior.
You.
Thank you. Chidiak is in Southla. Good old Chidiak. How are you doing?
Good. Cojo. Sorry.
That's okay.
In the first place, the people who are there working on NPA, they must resign their jobs. They are sleeping on the job. After all our cars have got damaged, they are now coming to read the problem to us as if they are singing Christmas carol to us. My car as at now is damaged. People are modernizing, automobile factories are modernizing their manufacturing standards. They are there sleeping. Now coming to tell us manganese. What is that? They should resign. For people who are serious to take over the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Chidia. Just to clarify, they have explained that the standards are set by Ghana Standards Authority, even though the advisory committee has them represented on it. But I will certainly put your concerns to them for a response. Let's take a couple more calls if we can. You know the numbers 055 1111 997 and 0302 216 541. We have Christie calling us from Pram. Hi, Christie. Good morning. Hello, Christie.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, Christie. What's your question?
First of all, thank you for the big topic. But I think the people are not justice topic. See, I have suffered bad. I have badly. Interesting, the fuel station, I don't think they are treating their customers well, because this issue has been in the system for a while. But when I went there to complain, the kind of treatment they gave me was as if I was the only one complaining. Cojo, I had to spend thousands on an HRV. I checked my plugs, 900, and then they had to treat the oil tank or something. Unbudgeted, unexpected. All of it, I have to spend this money to buy for that I don't even use money to buy. So I think they are not doing justice to us. And for now, even when I'm going to buy fuel, even though I've treated my rep, I'm still using it. I am also hesitant. I don't know whether I'm going to purchase another bad fuel and it's going to repair or not. So I think they should do more to it and also advise the filling stations that when it happens, they treat their customers well. Nobody is refunding the 1,002 that I spent. I'm not even asking somebody to refund. But the kind of treatment they gave me, so horrible. It's so horrible. So the NPA should do justice to all the fuel attendants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christy. All right, we'll take one more call and then see if we can answer the questions you have raised. This is Cojo from Medina. Hi, Cojo. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
What's your question, my brother?
The standard question is a concern about what is happening. Within a space of 2 months, I had to change plugs for my Honda CR-V for 3 times. And it's a reputable organization that revealed this to me. First, when they told me, I said, no, these plugs cannot be fake because I got them from the US. And I had to change it 3 times. You know the cost? Then I bought fuel last week and a similar thing developed again. Is it in connection with this gold for oil or something that they are not giving us good quality fuel? I mean, please, let's investigate it. The fact that it's within the limits doesn't mean it is good. You know, new cars are being manufactured. If new cars are being manufactured and you are allowing them into your country, you should be ready to provide the sort of fuel that will make those cars function well. Don't put the blame on the importers, because any regulatory organization in a country should perform a duty. So long as you are charging people taxes and all these things, selling fuel to them, or they want us to import our own fuel. Is that what they want to tell us? So the fact that manganese this, manganese that, is not the answer. The responsibility lies on the NPA, the Standards Board, and the rest of them, and the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Cojo. Thank you to all of you who have called. Let's see if we can get some answers from our panelists in the studio. We'll start with Freddie, who wants to know, are you going to compensate people? They're spending a lot of money.
Without a doubt, Cojo. And I think, let me first of all thank you so much for emphasizing the point that the standards are not set by the National Petroleum Authority. We as a regulatory body are supposed to work with the standards so set for us. So if the standards are set for us, it is not for us to go and work outside what has been set for us. So it is good that you establish that particular fact, because the last time I heard that staff of NPA should resign and pack bag and baggage was also again by a very senior person who said that if we cannot determine the prices of fuel at the pump, then we have no business being at NPA. When the act has actually changed and the orientation in the determination of price actually changed from 2015. So we work to what is given to us. If the rule or the regulation says that the prices are to be determined in this manner, we ought to ensure that people comply and fall within the regulation. If the standard says that the fuel that comes into this country are supposed to meet these particular parameters, it is our responsibility to go out there and ensure that the things are actually falling within the parameter. If the standard
is
today
on the advisory board,
absolutely, so that is what I'm coming to. So if the standard act it prevails today, even though within the rule is having an untold effect on the cast of people, what is the way forward? And that is why we have actually advised the Ghana Standard Authority, and did not only end there, we also called on a meeting with the importers to require of them, okay, to look again at the fuel that they bring. It ought not to be beyond the 6 and 2 for the regular and premium, so that we are not getting the kind of issues that we're getting today. So obviously we are doing something. Somebody asked a question that why have we actually slept on the job till now that we are talking about the revision of the standard. I think that it is important that institution, particularly of the caliber of National Petroleum Authority, to always be proactive and be able to troubleshoot issues that are coming. But we all would understand that we have limitation to which we can anticipate what issues are going to be.
So what was your limitation on this occasion?
Okay, so we never anticipated this, okay, that there would be the manganese level to 15, 16 or 17 within the standard that would still be intolerant to a certain class of vehicles. Now that the study has actually shown us, and we made this particular determination sometime in
so what
September.
Is the information you didn't have? Did you not have the information about the increased manganese level? Or did you not have information about the new standards for modern vehicles? So, which of these two bits of information did the NPA not have?
To come in there, like just as my brother Kudos is saying, we know, for instance, I do set an analogy that I drive a CRV. I have also been facing similar problems. In fact, to give you a perspective, my car started when I went to Cote d'Ivoire to deliver a presentation to ECOWAS Standards Committee on what to do.
You've mentioned that.
Yeah, but just to give you that it's not like everybody. We wanted this to happen, because if it should happen to me, the head of fuel quality control, it tells you that there were certain things we really didn't anticipate. For instance, that amount of manganese will create this havoc that it has created. It is in the standard. I know you know what a better car than your car you drive is. You are not driving that car. So we knew that going forward, we needed to improve the fuel. For instance, alcohol in petrol is much better. Every researcher is aware of that. But we know yet that because of the limiting factors I indicated in earlier, we cannot allow alcohol now, and we are working towards there.
Even those limiting factors have to do with the standards of your storage and so forth, the sealing of our fuels, which again is a standards issue.
Yeah, it's a standard issue, and it's an economic issue, and it's pocket issue. Because, for instance, Kudus talk about prices. When you increase standard, invariably you have increased prices. So we are always, no, you don't want to sacrifice any of them at the altar of the other. But yet, you have to get a fine balance. And the complication even much, there are certain things, mindful of the fact that I am a member of the standard committee. We raise issues sometimes as to, because it's a committee that has stakeholders. At the end of the day, you have to take a decision. Whether the decision is a forward one, take all the balances, that is always the argument you want to do. You want to have.
But you are there to advise.
Of course.
When did you start advising them that the standard must change?
We actually reviewed the standard last year. So we had a standard in place which has
this is a much more improved standard.
Yes, so we had the standard in place called GS 140 2017, which has 17 parameters.
You've mentioned that already.
Yes, so it's just unfortunate this has happened, but we have the best fuel standard in the whole of West Africa.
But we are the country that's having our cars.
No, so that's why I'm saying. You see, if you listen to even advanced countries, some of these things do happen. And if you look at the speed we have come in, it's just that, unfortunately, fuel don't just clear out of a system in one day.
The numbers are increasing.
Yeah, but it's actually decreasing. Actually,
it
is decreasing. We have done it's actually decreasing.
So, what's the answer to Freddie's question? Will you compensate them?
Okay, so that's another issue that I've encouraged people as much as possible to report, because it ought to take a certain examination before we can come to the conclusion to determine whether or not you warrant.
So it will be on a case by case basis.
Obviously.
All right. Junior wants to know whether this is this coincides with the gold for oil. Have we got a new source of fuel that is,
aside to this particular conversation, I think that the public ought to even know that gold for oil has actually been a very good omen to us, than the way people are trying to not throw the mischief, because the competitiveness of the prices that we have today to a significant extent can actually be attributed to the gold for oil.
What about the quality?
The quality is within standards.
But
not that at all.
But you see, has the manganese increased?
Okay, let me
since we started gold for oil.
Let me come in with this intervention. When did gold for oil started? It didn't start 2 months ago. And gold for oil, the major product supply under gold for oil is diesel. We don't have this problem with diesel. In fact, the diesel we have in Ghana is ultra low sulfur. Everybody who has done research knows that we have almost the best diesel quality in Africa, not West Africa. And that is where gold for oil actually dwell heavily on. So, and if you go to the records, you find out when did gold, it didn't start 2 months ago. So if indeed you want to link this to gold for oil.
So what's the specific answer to the question? Did the manganese levels go up when we started gold for oil?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
All right.
Not at all.
You've already answered the one that says resign because you are sleeping on the job. Fuel stations, are you enforcing their standards so that if somebody goes there and can trace bad fuel to them, that they get compensated and they don't get bad customer service like this caller had?
Yeah, I think that's quite unfortunate because we've been dealing with these fuel stations and their oil marketing companies on, customer complaints and professionalism. It's quite unfortunate, but we actually will look into that, and that's why Kudu's point comes in handy that people need to report to us on these things because we have gotten compensation for people even before this issue started on a normal case basis.
Cojo, I don't have the permission to mention the name, but a senior fellow within the media fraternity actually had a cause to report the misbehavior or misconduct of an attendant to us. We took the matter up with the OMC. The person was actually removed from the place. So when you bring the issue to us, we are able to act on it.
Deal with it. I want to say a big thank you to both of you. Our time is up. Ubaidallah Kutia Said is head of quality control at the National Petroleum Authority. He's been here with his colleague Mohammed Abdul Kudus, who is communications manager at the NPA. Thank you both for the education. We appreciate it.